Now let us discuss Special Marriage Act 1954. Apart from Hindu Marriage Act, there is another provision, this provision called Special Marriage Act under 1954. So this marriage is confining to all religions, and you can say it is inter-religion marriage. A Hindu can marry a Christian can marry Muslim, so there is no restriction of marriage under this. So that's why it is called Special Marriage Act. So here you have to refer two sections, section 5 and section 15. Those are very much relevant under this. Section 5 relates to intended marriage. Whenever any spouses they intend to marry, they have to apply under section 5 before the registrar of marriage. So in some places, sub-registrars are designated with this power, the marriage officer power given under statute to them. So here also certain powers are given to them. The sub-registrar, they also act like a marriage officer under this. So there is a form, the spouses, the parties, they have to fill up the form, but before filling up that, they have to fulfill certain conditions. First condition, both the spouses must be major, they must have attained the marriageable age. Second, either of the spouse, they must have stayed for at least 30 days prior to presentation of the petition under that registrar where they are going to, the marriage is going to be solemnized. They must have stayed in that locality, within that locality at least prior to 30 days. They must have stayed prior to presentation. So these are certain conditions, and they must not be having any living spouse at that time. So these are certain conditions, and if the conditions are fulfilled, the parties, they can go for section 5, that is called intended marriage. They will apply before in a prescribed form, they will apply to the marriage officer, and it will be received thereafter 30 days. That objection period will be there. The registrar will give 30 days, that is called objection period. If anybody is having any objection in relating to that marriage, they will raise their objection. If the objections are valid, in those cases, the application may be also refused. But in some cases, if there is no objection, and automatically after 30 days, the parties, the spouses, they can go for marriage within another 60 days after expiry of 30 days. So altogether 90 days time will be given from the date of presentation of the petition. Within this 90 days, the marriage has to be solemnized, and after completion of 30 days, the parties will be allowed or permitted to marry, and at that time 3 witnesses are very much essential. Those 3 witnesses will append their signatures in the application form and as a witnesses, and subsequently the marriage will be solemnized after taking requisite charges. So this is relating to section 5. So at least after application of this under section 5, 30 days period is there, that is called objection period. Then coming to section 15, that is marriage celebrated in which is already marriage is there. So in that case, if a marriage is already solemnized and the parties intended or they are interested to take a marriage certificate, they have to apply under section 15. The same procedures, first of all they will apply, and after they have to wait for 30 days. After 30 days again it will be registered, and by taking 3 witnesses, and the 3 witnesses will put their signatures in that marriage application form. So these are certain procedures given under section 15. But one thing you have to remember, the parties, those who are applying, either of the spouse or husband must have stayed within that jurisdiction of that marriage officer where the application is filed. So this is one criteria under this provision under section 15. So section 15 is also very much essential for issuance of certificate where marriage is already celebrated. So these are 2 important provisions in relating to special marriage, and if there is any objection, objection is raised by any of the party at that, or any outsider, any objection raised, that objection will be first up cleared off, and the objection is valid, and the marriage officer thinks that the marriage cannot be solemnized. In that case, he is having option to reject the application. So these are 2 aspects or 2 procedures given under Special Marriage Act 1954 Act. So this Special Marriage Act is confining to all religion. Anybody can apply, but the parties must be major, and they must not be any other spouse living at the time of marriage, and they must be having free consent, and they must have attained the marriageable age. So these are all the conditions, just like Hindu Marriage Act. All the conditions are fulfilled, then only a special marriage can be taken up. Then now let us come to another aspect of law, that is called Family Court Act, that is called 1984 Act. So here the government has established family courts in certain areas, and the judges, those who are appointed, they will be eligible to become a district judge of that rank, and there becomes the family judge. And the family judge, their jurisdiction is to decide all cases related to family, just like marriage, maintenance, divorce, all these aspects, the custody of children, all these things having concurrent jurisdiction of the family court. And the family court is just like a civil court, and they can decide all cases under this provision. And under CRPC also there is a chapter, that is 125, relating to maintenance of wife. In that case also, maintenance of wife, children, parents, all this can also claim maintenance under section 125 of CRPC. That is also coming under concurrent jurisdiction of family court. But where family court is there, these provisions are taken up. But where there is no family court, suppose a divorce petition is filed, that will be decided by a civil court. Suppose a maintenance petition under 125 is filed, under 125 CRPC is filed, that will be taken up subdivisional judicial magistrate. So they are having concurrent jurisdiction to decide all these things. So the family court is a special statutory court, designated court appointed under statute, that is called Family Court Act. So now after appointment, the evidence, whatever the evidence of formal character, that will be filed under section 16 of the Act. The parties, though intend to lead evidence, they will submit their affidavit, duly sworn affidavit, before the court, and that affidavit will be taken into acceptance as an evidence by the party. So after receiving that evidence, the other side will be supplied a copy of that, and the other side will get an opportunity to cross-examine the party who has furnished the affidavit. So that is called tendering of affidavit under section 16 of the Act. Then one thing very important, section 13 relating to right of representation. Normally, under the statute, the advocates are not permitted to appear before the court. But in some cases, advocates can be appointed as an amicus curiae. If something is required by the court, court can appoint some advocate as an amicus curiae. But the advocates don't have right. But in case of certain emergency situation, or in case of certain cases of trivial nature where advocate's help is required, on permission, court can also appoint, or court can grant an advocate to appear for a party, provided the other party must have consented. If the other party is also appointing an advocate, the other party, the against party, can also appoint an advocate. So this is the provision, but normally the right of representation under section 13 of the Act is forbidden to advocates. Then section 19 relating to appeal. Any judgment, any order from the family court, that is appealable to High Court, and the limitation is within 90 days from the date of judgment, the appeal will be filed in the High Court. So the High Court has got concurrent jurisdiction to entertain any appeal under this Act, that is coming under section 19 of the Act. Then all these provisions of this Act, that means all the cases under this Act will be taken up inside the camera, in a camera. That means there should not be any open hearing. The other outsider are not permitted to hear the proceeding of a case that is taken up by family court. So all the proceedings are taken up in camera. So these are called camera trial cases or camera proceeding cases. So this is very much given under section 11. So any judgment or any finding of any family court that cannot be published by any party, or no publication can be made regarding result of any decision of any family court. So there are certain restrictions given under section 11. So these are certain restrictions. Then all the judgment that is delivered under section 17 of this Act, that is in open court, and the judgment will be, a copy of the judgment will be supplied to parties. If the agreed party, they can go against that judgment. If they want to challenge the judgment, they will have to prefer appeal, challenging that judgment in the appellate court, that is High Court. And just like all the judgments, the judgment is there, any order is there that can be executed by execution petition. All the execution petitions are filed under section 18, and all the execution system, that is whatever that is prescribed under CPC, under order 21, are to be followed. All the party who has got the decree or favorable order, he will be called decree holder. Against whom the decree is withdrawn, he is called judgment debtor. The decree holder has got option to file that execution petition under section 18 before the court, family court, concerned court, for it to execute the decree. So the monetary decree, whatever that is there, that can be recovered under this execution proceedings. And also the system of, if the judgment debtor is defying the order of the court, there is system of imprisonment also there, fine is also there. So these things can be taken up in case of execution proceedings. And all appeals that will be filed under section 19 under this Family Court Act. All the appeals, so when the agreed party intends to file appeal, he has to file the appeal within the stipulated time, but certain things are there for appeal cannot be filed. So only judgments where the impugned judgment that will be challenged by the agreed party, they can go for appeal. So these are certain guidelines given under this Family Court Act. And the Family Court Act is purely coming under the statutory act, and the provisions of all the CPC are followed, and certain criminal procedure also is applied just like 125. But here in case of 125 proceedings, the strict proof of marriage is not required. But if that case is decided by the family judge, strict proof is not required. If the parties are staying together as husband wife and certain evidence has been adduced by somebody or any neighbors, that is sufficient to establish a claim under maintenance under the provision of CRPC 125 CRPC. So all these things are dealt under this Family Court Act. So this Family Court is a statutory act, and the courts are functioned or appointed under this statutory act for doing certain limited jobs. But here the representation of the advocates are completely restricted. The advocates are not permitted, but in case of emergency, amicus curiae, that will be appointed by the court. And sometimes the counselors are also there. The counselors used to counseling, but the Family Court Act strictly prescribes that before entering into hearing, a counseling will be taken up by the counselor. Subsequently, the case will be referred. If the counseling is failed, the case will be referred to the court. Again, the judge will counsel or have a counseling. They will try to restitute their difference, or they try to mix the parties. If there is failure, then definitely the case will proceed as per law. So these are systems. Just civil procedure system is adopted in case of our Family Court Act. So the judges are senior judges, and they are having capability, and they are equivalent to district judge. Those who are having capacity to join as a district judge, they are appointed as a family judge, and all these things are appointed by magistrates. So these are all just relating to our Family Court Act. So in this video, we have discussed the Family Court Act, Special Marriage Act, then our Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act, and Hindu Marriage Act. These four constitute, it is a family law, and all these things are having independent, their sections are there, their style, their procedure, their system is everything, that is whatever that is governed under this act, everything is specifically mentioned. The courts used to follow the same, and after following the same, the court used to pass the judgment, and after the judgment, the relevant provisions relating to execution, appeals, revision, all the system, whatever that is prescribed under CPC, everything can be followed. So this is in detail relating to this family law. With this, I am concluding this lectures on this family law.